Hola, welcome to the Drop Dead Sisters podcast. My name is Francesca,
And my name is Ninoshka.
and we are very, very excited because this is our very first podcast ever, like ever.
The first one. Woohoo!
Yep, like we are super excited about this. And, we want to take a moment now because right before we begun to record, we just found out that another shooting happened at a Walmart in El Paso. And it's reported like, I guess it's nothing that's stated yet, but it seems like there were over 40 people that were wounded. I guess around 20 people dead, including four children. It was a white male.
Hmm.
And yo, this shit is crazy, man.
This is just ridiculous. I don't understand how people can do stuff like that, man.
Like right now, like I am, like I have, like when you say, like you feel full body chills, se me para los pelos. Like I just can't believe that that just happened. And if you see the picture of that fucking disgusting ass individual walking into Walmart the way he was, like
Like,
that
it's a
is
freaking video game. Like, he's not gonna do anything wrong. Like, it's nothing.
that he walked in prepared with the fucking soundproof headphones and with that fucking big ass gun. His name is Patrick Crucius, I think that's his name. Right now, of course, police just name him as a suspect, but yo,
Straight
like I
piece of
am
shit.
so sad right now. Like I can't, we are very excited because we are recording our first podcast ever, but we wanted to take the time to just bring awareness, tell everybody like, yo, be careful. Nowhere is safe these days. Like it's nowhere.
Nowhere. You have to be aware of your surroundings like never. You have to be so aware. If you have kids, if you have anything, just
Your life.
be so careful. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't trust nobody.
Yeah, and it's not only about that. It's just when you're in places like not even schools. Like we received two calls from the school this last year of threats from a call that was coming from London to like a call center in Connecticut that they went threatening to shoot a school in Orange County, which is where we are at, and our kids go to an Orange County school, and I was freaking out, like, and then now this shit happens, like, it's just like, when is it going to stop?
That's the problem. That if you notice, right now it's when all this is just kind of starting. Because yeah, it has happened before, but not with the proximity. That they have happened like more constant than before. um these guns are so available for anybody. Anybody can buy a gun. Anybody it's so available, and it's so easy to get that it's ridiculous. Well,
Yep, there's
I mean,
like no control whatsoever,
but
like
that's the
it's just.
problem, that if it's so accessible, but at the same time, if they put a higher law for it not to be so easy, even the people that is trying to protect themselves and get a gun is not going to be easy either. You know what I mean?
It's
So it's a
true.
little contradictory right there. So it's a little
There,
weird.
it's like everything. Like we say in Spanish, el que hizo la ley hizo la trampa, and whoever created the law, they also created something to save their asses as well. It's just unfortunately the way it goes. But
Exactly.
we just wanted to, just say a little bit about what just happened and what we just found out about. And just once again, people just take care of yourselves, and it can happen at any time, but make sure that you sit down with your kids, your family, and have a plan if something like that were to happen, God forbid, but so that you're prepared, know at least what to do, and so that your children, also know what to do. I don't know. I just think of all these things, and we just want to make sure that if you guys are listening, we want to make sure that we bring out the message and awareness, okay?
Be careful.
And going back to our podcast situation, basically, we are very grateful to be here today recording our very first podcast.
Yep, our very first one. It's been 2 weeks of a lot of research and looking for stuff. You're amazing.
Thanks.
And 2 weeks ago, we just chose our name and our logo, which, in my opinion, is like it was the easiest step for us. only
Yeah.
on those two. And now after that, whew, it's not that easy.
Yeah, no, but basically, I feel like we're good. Like for being beginners, like we are. I feel like in the past 2 weeks we've done so much shit, and we are even sitting down recording our very first episode. Like we are just so happy to be here. We are also super fans of other true crime podcasts. This is like the one of the reasons we're here, especially
Hmm.
True Crime Junkies, which is the very first podcast we ever heard.
Yep, that's true. That's
It's
why that's what made us give us those wants and needs to start one.
Yeah, like we really really love their podcast. Like we're truly fans of them, and also everything has worked out very well for us. Again, the name, the logo. We also want to give a shout out to our artist Megan for that logo. Is fucking amazing.
Thank you, Megan. You are amazing.
Yeah, like we have also tagged her in our social media. So if you guys want to check her work out, you well, not her working out, her workout, like her art. Just check her art out. You can definitely do that. But now let's get to the topic. Today we will be discussing the JonBenét Ramsey case.
And it's very strange because just the day after we decided that we were going to cover this case first, a new break in the case happened. It's crazy.
It's super crazy. Like, we have a list of over 56 different episodes that we want to cover. And we
Oof.
randomly decided to cover this case because, this case is like, you guys are going to listen for yourselves, but it's a very bizarre case. And we decided to cover it. And then the next day, Nino sends me a link that she saw that a new break in the case happened. And we just can't believe it.
Yeah, when I saw that actually that it was mentioned, and then I see it was uploaded 3 hours before I saw the actual video. I'm like, oh my god! After so many years, and now this happens, is just crazy.
Yep, it's super crazy. And, we are aware that due to this, there are probably going to be lots of other podcasts that will be airing out episodes about this case. But this is the true beauty of podcasting. It's just for everyone to be able to give their own opinions. And, in our opinion, it's very important for us to try to keep the memory of those who are no longer with us and died in such a tragic way, especially a little kid.
Exactly, and that it wasn't solved. So many questions because not, most of the cases that we're going to talk about, not most, some of them are solved, but it's crazy that you see a case of a 6-year-old and it's just so many unsolved mysteries in this case, so many questions that it's just unanswered. So that's why in today's episode, we will be covering all the details about why this case is so fucking bizarre and the story about the tragic death of this beautiful, beautiful girl, 6-year-old girl, JonBenét Ramsey.
Police. What's going on? 5515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone. A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter? 6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old. How long ago was it? I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone. Does it say who took her? What? Does it say who took her? I don't know. There's a ransom note here. It's a ransom note? It says SBTC. Victory. Please. Okay, what's your name? Are you Kathy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please. I'm sending an officer over, okay? Please. Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please. Okay,
Please,
there's somebody.
I
I am, honey. Please. Take a deep breath. Please. Okay. Hurry. Patsy.
Okay, and what you guys just heard was the recording of the 911 call that Patsy Ramsey, which was JonBenét's mom, placed the day of the incident. And we will discuss that 911 call later on. But now we're going to begin our episode just giving a little introduction of who the Ramsey family was. Let's begin with the victim. In this case, she was JonBenét Patricia Ramsey. She was born in August 6 of 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia. She was only 6 years old. She was a pageant beauty queen. She began at the age of 4, and she was so great doing that by the age of 6, she had already won multiple pageant titles. Her mom was Patricia Ann Ramsey. We will call her Patsy in this episode. She was born in December 29th of 1956. Then we have her JonBenét's dad. His name was JonBenét Ramsey. That's where the name, of course, that's where they got it from. And he was born in December 7 of 1943. She had a brother that lived with them. His name was Burke Ramsey. He was born in January 27 of 1987. He was 9 at the time of the incident. And in 1991, the Ramsey family moved from Atlanta, Georgia, to Boulder, Colorado. That was a little college town. And they lived in a 15-bedroom brick Tudor style home. Like, yo, Nino, a 15-bedroom.
15. I have 2, and I think it's a lot.
Like, yo, it's like 15 rooms. Like, that was like a mansion. That's some rose red shit.
It was
like,
a really
what?
beautiful. It was an actual really beautiful home.
Yep.
It really was. So, Patsy was a decorator from Atlanta, and she was also a former pageant queen. Mr. Ramsey was a millionaire businessman. He founded a computer business called Axis Graphics. So we're not talking about just regular people, as you can see. Yep. He had just won an award for entrepreneur.
That word, man. That word kills me. I can never say it right.
Entrepreneur. Okay, I think I'm saying it right. So yes, they were high society people, as you can see, and they had been active in various activities, including opera and all that shit back in the day. You know. Yep. Patsy had just beat ovarian cancer. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy because something so simple can kill you. Just fuck cancer. And she was celebrating her 40th birthday that year, actually, in 1996.
Yeah, she actually did have ovarian cancer, and later on in the story, I mean, as you can see, she beat ovarian cancer, but later on in the story, we will let you know she actually ended up dying from ovarian cancer, which is super scary.
That's right. Well, on December 25th, Christmas Day, the Ramseys went out to a Christmas party to the White's house. I believe they lived in the same neighborhood. They were family friends. Nothing out of the ordinary was reported to happen on that party, so it was a pretty normal night. Before getting home, the Ramseys dropped gifts in the Walkers and Steins houses. They were also family friends. And reportedly, JonBenét and Burke fell asleep in the car.
Yep, that's what's reported. You know, little kids, after they've been in a Christmas party, for a while, and you put them in the car, they will immediately fall asleep. So that's something that, in my opinion, is very common. I don't see anything out of the usual on a Christmas day.
Exactly.
I really don't. And well, basically, based on what they told the police later on in interviews, they got to their house well after dark. So there is no timestamp on when the Ramseys around to their home on Christmas Day in 1996, but what's stated is that they just got home well after dark. And basically, the parents stated that When they get to the house, they put JonBenét to bed, and that Mr. Ramsey stayed up playing games with Burke, the son, for a little bit. And then it said that Mr. Ramsey then set their alarm and went to bed around 10 p.m. since the family was planning to wake up early the next morning because they were going to Michigan for a family vacation.
Reportedly, before dawn the next morning, the Ramseys woke up around 5:30 in the morning. Mr. Ramsey took a shower and Patsy got dressed using the same outfit that she had used actually in the party the night before.
Which is normal. I feel like that's normal. I feel like, some people say that that's very strange, but listen, we come from Puerto Rico. Sometimes we grew up like 2 years with the same fucking pair of jeans. Like, not even a joke.
For me, it's completely normal. If you love it, you will wear it as many times as you can. If nobody saw you, the people that you're going to see that day is not the same people that saw you the night before. Even with more reasons, you're going to wear it.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it's like, of course, we try not to wear like, the same outfits, or in an Instagram picture, you want to make sure that you're not wearing the same outfit and all that shit, which is stupid, but that's what happens. But basically, if, you wore the clothes to a mini Christmas party and you fucking love the sweater, then, you wear it again the next day that, you're not going to see anybody. Yes, and exactly. Anyway, they were also flying the family trip that they were taking. Keep in mind, this family, they're wealthy, like they're millionaires, and they were actually flying with their own pilot and shit. Like,
yeah, just like
so
us.
they, like they don't even need to worry about being comfy to go to the airport because they actually have like their own, their own plane.
Well, Patsy then went down the back stairs from the second floor around 5:45 in the morning. Patsy says that near the bottom of the stairs, she noticed 3 pieces of paper neatly laid across the stairway. That's when it gets serious.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, right now, let's say that, you just woke up, you do your regular stuff, you get dressed, do your makeup, and then suddenly you notice like pieces of paper laying around your stairs, which probably that the night before that was not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're still not going to think that it's going to be that,
Yep. So basically, it happens to be a ransom note. It was a ransom note of 2.5 pages. It was directed to Mr. Ramsey, and it basically said that they had JonBenét and they demanded $118,000. And Patsy explained that, which is the mom, when she read just like the lines of the letter that said that JonBenét was kidnapped, but she was safe and unharmed, and that they were demanding $118,000 for her return. In her own words, she says that she felt an overwhelming fear, and she just ran up the stairs to go check on JonBenét's room just to verify if she was there or not. And when she noticed that JonBenét was not in her room or in her bed, she said that she just screamed out for Mr. Ramsey. Of course, if you see a letter like that laying in the stairs and you go to the room and your daughter's not there, this is the real deal. Like, it's happening.
I will go ballistic.
It's crazy. So basically, around 5:52 in the morning, which was a few minutes after, they then went to check that Burke, the son, just to check that he was all right.
Okay, that's a couple of minutes after they woke up. Yeah. So they found the ransom note. I'm sorry. So probably it's not. I mean, reading 2.5 pages of a ransom note obviously is going to take them some time.
Well, she said apparently what stated, I'm not sure if she read the whole letter or if she basically, she explains that she read like the beginning, just like, we have your daughter, basically give me this. And that's when I guess, she ran up the stairs. That's what's stated,
Well, I'm just going to read whatever we thought it was important on the ransom note. We're not going to go and read the whole 2.5 pages. So here's like a highlight of the most important parts. It says, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. I will call you tomorrow between 8 and 10 a.m. to instruct you on delivery. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Victory, signed by SBTC. What the fuck is SBTC?
What? Yeah, that is super crazy. Like, just the fact, while we are discussing this weird ransom note, like 2.5 pages, it's so weird. I feel like that's clearly, it's crazy. I feel like, I don't know, in my opinion, that is super scary. Just the fact knowing that somebody wrote you a ransom note demanding something for your daughter or for your kid, like, that's crazy.
It's just, okay, about the highlights of this ransom note. Okay, first of all, the 2.5 pages of just explaining all this stuff, when this what we mentioned was more than enough in order for them to know what they were asking for. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why the 2.5 ransom pages is I'm sorry, ransom note is, it's a little weird. Because it also it asks almost for the exact amount of Mr. Ramsey's bonus on that year. It was $118,000 exact.
Yeah, and it said that that year, Mr. Ramsey, he actually got a bonus of the same exact amount. Of course, I'm guessing it. I'm sure that it's stated somewhere there. I just didn't add it to our notes, but they say that this amount is really, really similar and close to the amount of his bonus that year. So that made it even weirder, because why wouldn't somebody ask for 200,000, like, 150,000, 100,000? No, like 180.
Exactly.
That's weird.
And these people are millionaires. These people have money. If you know that he's getting that exact amount of for a bonus, you definitely know that they have way much more money than that.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't know if in those years, maybe, I don't know. It's weird. And also, in the ransomer demanded that the money had to be given specifically in $100,000 in $100 bills and $18,000 in $20 bills. So it specified how they wanted the dollar bills to be.
Yep, like that's very, very specific. Like, I don't want you to, like, it's weird. Like, instead of just give me the money, I don't care how you give it to me. He just wanted the dollar bills the way he asked for it.
And
so
it's weird.
It's crazy because, again, we're talking about a ransom note, and they have your little kid, and they're being so specific that it's like, if they're watching your every move, like, make sure you give me this, because if you fail, you have a 99% chance of getting your daughter killed. That's freaky.
Exactly. We're going to be posting the ransom note, all 3 pages of it, in our Podbeam page. If you guys later on after this episode want to go ahead and take a look take a look at it and read it for yourselves. That way you understand a little more what we're trying to say.
Yep, we're gonna have that available, and then basically after that, just around 5:52, just, I'm guessing at the same time that they checked that Burke was okay, that's when Patsy placed the call to 911, which is the audio that we played at the beginning. And as you guys heard in the audio clip that we played at the beginning, she was hysterical. Like, she was just going crazy. And basically, the dispatcher in that audio is trying to get Patsy to calm down, to have Patsy explain, what's going on. And as once again, it's a hysterical mom, her daughter is missing.
Exactly.
And Patsy is like giving her the information that she's being asked for, but of course she's just frantic. So, it's like, just hurry, hurry the fuck up. Come here. Stop asking me questions. I will feel the same way,
Yeah, that's true. I don't even know how I would react, because just of the fact that you're so scared and just thinking, well, us as moms, that's why we think that way. You don't want to answer no questions at all. You just want people to get there and get in action.
Exactly. Like, I would just want somebody to get there, because no matter what, when cases happen, you trust the police. You basically count on the police. Like, you call them. That's why they have a 911 line. Like, you're hoping that the police will solve your problems, basically. That's just how it is. Like, you feel some type of security knowing that somebody's coming to help you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Within 2 or 3 minutes after the 911 call took place, Patsy and John were on the phone calling friends already and neighbors to come over saying that JonBenét was kidnapped. So,
Well, to be honest, that's also something that, I was talking to Jonathan about, my boyfriend. Basically, if it was my kid, let's say that my kid is missing, I just found a ransom note. I feel like after I placed the 911 call, which is very important that they call the police first, because we've heard in other cases
That's true.
where they do other shit and then they call the police, which that's sketchy as fuck.
yeah, that's even
But
worse.
exactly. So basically, what I feel like, if it was, my case, because I try to put myself in other people's shoes just to have a better understanding of what they did. And basically, I feel like I would basically immediately be calling the close people to me just to know if they know something, even though I feel like deep inside, I will know that they won't know, but I will definitely be calling people. And even if I don't ask them to come over, I'm sure that they will come over.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
So around at 5:55 in the morning, Officer French proceeded to the Ramsey's residence regarding a ransom demand and kidnapping emergency call that we already discussed about that. Officer
Yep.
French arrived at the home a few minutes after 6 in the morning. So the place was
Before.
the call was placed at 5:52. So by 6 in the morning, he was already there. So he got there pretty quick.
Yeah, they got there within 7 minutes of the 911 call being placed, and he actually arrived the home a few minutes before 6 a.m. So he was there before 6 a.m.
So like 5 minutes after the call was placed, basically.
Yeah, it's maybe the reports I read said 7 minutes. Maybe they're bad at math, so am I. Just less than 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. And well, now we are going to basically explain a little bit of what went on, after, the police had already arrived to the house. So, as Nino said, Officer French was the first officer in the scene. And based on the police report, French said that he read the ransom note first and then he searched the house. But other sources say that it was otherwise, that he probably, did a mini search in the house and then he read the ransom note. There are, rumors around, that nobody knows who did it, because to be honest, not everything that is stated, that's something that I've learned, not everything that's stated on a police report are facts. Okay?
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
people
not.
saying
So
it. So it's not gonna
exactly.
be exactly the how it happened.
Exactly. So basically, also sources say that when Officer French went to search the basement, when he was doing that quick search of the house, that when he went to the basement, he came to a door that was secured with a wooden latch, and he walked away and didn't open the door. So basically, he searched the basement, and he saw that door. That was, with a wooden latch, and he just walked away instead of opening the door. And however, police reports say that the reason why the reason why Officer French did not open the door was because he was basically looking for exits that the kidnapper might have used. And because he noticed that the latch on the door was on the wrong side of the door, like leading out of the house, he just kept moving. That's a little confusing, because to be honest, first of all, let's go back to, as a parent, you're not finding your kid at the house, right? Wouldn't you check every single inch of your house, no matter if it's the wine cellar, the fucking attic, the pool? You will check everywhere,
But
wouldn't you?
it's just, yes, we would, but at this point, I feel like if he read the ransom note before and he already knows that it's a kidnapping case,
Well, yeah, I
he's
feel
just
you, yeah.
he thinks that the girl is not there, that they already took her away. So
It's true.
he probably is looking to see if he has any evidence on the floor of somewhere to start. But I feel like he wasn't looking for an actual person.
It's true. I definitely understand that too. And to be honest, this is also one of the reasons why I personally, later on, we will discuss our opinions about the case, who we think did it, and all of that. But I feel like, I don't know, it's true. Nobody would expect that your kid would be found on the home dead. And that's something that we will discuss in a few minutes, but nobody will expect that to happen if you see a ransom note. That's why
Exactly.
this case is so bizarre.
Exactly.
That's why it's
But
so bizarre.
shortly after the police arrived, friends and neighbors began to arrive also, because they after the 911 call, they called them to let them know what was going on.
Yeah.
There were people everywhere in the house, in the kitchen, in the living room. They were, of course, talking about the incident, passing around the ransom note, basically contaminating the crime scene completely. The police should have definitely, in my opinion, secured the whole house, because, of course, this is a crime scene no matter what.
No matter what.
The police actually only sealed JonBenét's room because if she was sleeping, that's the place where they're gonna take her from, but
No.
not the rest of the house. But
But that's stupid.
it was very dumb, in my opinion.
That's
Very dumb.
dumb and stupid because listen, yeah, duh, she was taken from her room, but don't tell me that the intruder flew out of the house. Like they just flew. They didn't touch the floor or nothing.
Exactly.
Like they flew and just threw the ransom note in the stairs, flying like the tooth fairy. No, bitch, no. It's a crime scene.
Exactly. It's
you
like
know,
basic. It's just basic. It's basic stuff that if you are gonna be that detective, you already know the steps. So why would you let people contaminate the crime scene?
okay, and now we are going to take a quick break just to hear a word from our sponsor. Wait, we don't have any sponsors.
Soon to come.
Okay, that was super lame, but you know how when you listen to podcasts, they usually take a break after they've been talking for a while, to hear from their sponsors.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So
Yeah.
in the moment we get there, we should make like a cut scene and then add our sponsors in that moment, how it would have sound.
Yeah.
You know what I
So,
mean?
Right now we're just very lonely. Just
We're fantasizing.
very drop dead right now. So basically, just keep in mind we're just not gonna take any stops. Like we truly apologize for throwing a joke in the middle of the case, but this is a very intense case, and you guys will understand once we proceed with the details of what happened that day on the 26th of December of 1996. So Nino already covered basically that the first officer in the scene, Officer French, conducted what seemed to be like a quick search, and he failed to search certain parts in the house. So now we are going to discuss a little bit of when Mr. White, which is a friend of the Ramseys, when he did a quick search of the house's basement. So around 6:30 in the morning, one of the family friends, Mr. White, he searched the basement of the Ramsey residence within 10 to 15 minutes upon his arrival. So he got there, and 10 to 15 minutes after he decided to look around the house, which is totally understandable because he's a family friend, and at this point it's been like over an hour after all of this. They found out that JonBenét's gone, and of course they're gonna want to search everywhere to see if they can see any signs of any intruder coming in or out of the house, right?
Right.
So basically he stated that when he went down to the basement, he noticed that the lights were already on. And he also noticed that there was a broken window in the train room. To be honest, I really don't know what a train room is. It seems to be that the Ramseys, hello, it's a huge mansion. So it seems like when you went down to the basement, there were different rooms, like the laundry room, there was a game room, a train room. I'm not really sure, exactly the full setup, but it seems like when he went to the basement, one, the lights were already on, and he said that he saw a broken window in the train room. He said that after he saw that broken window, he began to look around to see if he found any piece of a small glass, just to have an idea of if somebody, went through that window or outside, where it would have led them to. And he said that he found a small piece of glass near a suitcase. That's the infamous suitcase that was found underneath the broken window in the Ramsey's basement. And then he also noticed that the latch on the window was unlocked, in an unlocked position. So he had an impression that, the window was closed. So I'm not really sure if that makes any sense, because basically, for what I read, it says that the latch on the window was on the unlocked position, and he had an impression that the window was closed. To be honest, I'm not really sure if maybe I wrote that wrong, but basically, when he looked at the window, he didn't see any signs that the window would have been open. It was just broken. Okay. And then he said that he then went into the wine cellar, but he couldn't see anything because it was too dark and he wasn't able to locate the light switch. So he just went back upstairs. So basically,
What?
yeah. So he couldn't
Well,
find the light switch and he just went upstairs.
yeah, I believe because if it was a police officer, probably he would have had a flashlight.
Yep.
But yeah, he's just a regular person. So I
Yeah,
don't think he would be
exactly. He was
carrying a
not
flashlight
he
to
was
look
not
around,
prepared. And once again, like you mentioned earlier, which was a really good point, like they're not thinking that JonBenét is at the house at this time. They're thinking that
Exactly.
she's been taken.
Exactly. Well, at this time, the officers and the crime advocates arrived to the house. It's reported that around 7:30 in the morning, Mr. Ramsey had collected the $118,000. Of course, that shouldn't have been difficult for him.
Of course not.
They were requesting in the ransom note. Now we are just waiting for the ransom note to call, which that's the weird part. That they have the ransom note, they tell you the time that they're gonna call, but the call never happens.
Yep.
They never call.
It never happened. The ransomer stated in the note that they would be calling between 8 and 10 in the morning, and basically they were waiting, but the call never came in. Like nobody
It never
called.
happened.
Yep. And that's when everything started becoming a little more suspicious, just because, normally, what you see in movies or what you've heard in cases, if somebody, especially a ransomer that took the time to write a fucking 2.5-page ransom note,
And kidnap a person.
exactly, a little girl, like basically, if he took the time to write, all of that in detail, like, we are hoping that you are going to call in detail at the time you said, but he never did.
Exactly.
So basically, now we're going to discuss a little bit about what happened. Let me not say anything else because I really don't want to spoil it. Basically, at this time, Detective Arndt arrived, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It's spelled Arndt. It's Detective Arndt. Arrived to the crime scene just after 8 a.m. And she just received a call from her sergeant in which she was told, that she was going to a house in which a kidnapping and a ransom note had been discovered at. And the ransomer had stated that they would call between 8 and 10, so they had to have a detective at the scene. So basically, by 10:30 in the morning, she was still the only officer in the Ramsey's home, and she allegedly called for backup repeatedly, but supposedly no one arrived. And at this time, again, the ransomer, the time that he has said that he would call had passed. It was already 10:30. So
Exactly.
exactly. So it's been a while now. Everybody's it's anxious. I don't even imagine like how the parents must have been, friends around the house. Which once
You
again,
have everything that they're asking for, but the problem is that there's the only thing that you're waiting for that is going to solve the issue never happens.
Yep.
Without that phone call, they don't know nothing else.
yeah. So we're talking about that happened.
moments.
After 10:30 in the morning, and then after that it was already 1 p.m. Around 1 p.m. Detective Arndt stated that she stated in her police report that the house was quiet and tense, and that Mr. Ramsey looked very anxious, and that Patsy was sitting virtually motionless in a chair. So that was just basically what she wrote in her police report. So in other words, it was 1 p.m.
Virtually
Yeah.
motionless.
Yeah, like she was just sitting in a chair. Like you don't even want to live right now at this point. Like, I mean, not like that, because of course you have another kid, and it's not like that. You guys know what I mean. But she
But
was
it's
just
like you lose a piece of your heart.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I would be like exhausted of crying already or
Hysterical.
something. Yeah. So, and I guess that she was given to calm down, like a some type of pill. I don't want to say the wrong name. I don't know if it was a Xanax or something like that, but she was given something to calm her down. So maybe this is one of the reasons why she was like, she was described as being virtually motionless in a chair. And basically, Detective Arnold claims that she wanted to give, Mr. Ramsey something to do just to keep his mind occupied because he seemed, of course, very worried, about everything. So this is why I call this section the dumb Detective Arnold move, because around 1 p.m., she called Mr. Ramsey and she also called Mr. White aside and told them to conduct a top to bottom search of the house to see if there was any sign of JonBenét or anything that may have been left or taken that belonged to her. So you're saying
This
that
is
in the crime scene, it's a crime scene. The detective tells, the
how are you gonna
parents.
say a regular
Yeah.
person search the house?
No.
Obviously, it's a crime scene. You wanna,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they haven't found the body yet. You're not supposed to let people go there. You're supposed to be how do you call it, interrogating them, but putting them aside away from the house.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
So the problem is that she said from top to bottom, but Mr. Ramsey went from the basement to the basement first. So he went backwards.
Yeah, it
I believe
stated
that
that.
it's that.
Sorry, I'm just trying to
Sorry.
to interrupt you. That's what I do.
No, it's okay. So he went backwards. So it was a little weird, but I believe that since JonBenét's room, I believe it's upstairs. He went over there first. They have checked already what's the normal rooms where you would check first.
Exactly.
That's
That's why I don't.
because
People find it weird that he was instructed to search from top to bottom and he did otherwise. He went to the basement first, but again, that's the point. Like, he would have already searched everything upstairs, so the only place that he probably haven't searched well is the basement. So
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's why he did it.
Exactly. So the reports say that he was followed by Mr. White, and other sources say that Mr. Fernie was following as well. So we're talking about 3 men.
Yep.
These are 2 of Mr. Ramsey's friends. It was reported that they apparently had a discussion about the broken window in the train room. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the
You
broken
mentioned
window
about a
in the train room. Yeah.
I believe also we're gonna be having a picture of that window in our Podbeam page.
Yeah, that's good.
But in over there about that window, Mr. Ramsey stated that he had broken the window a few months ago. So honestly, they're not sure if it was already like that and he used it to go inside or nothing happened there. It was just a broken window.
Exactly,
in my
because
opinion,
basically Mr. Ramsey is stating that he was aware that the window was broken, but in a case like this in which something happened, that they took your daughter, and let's say you probably locked all the doors or something like that, which we will discuss the house situation later on, but yeah, it's weird.
That's
This
not
is
that big.
Yeah,
That window is not
it's
that
small. You guys will see the picture and you will see what I mean, but it's definitely possible for an individual to have fit through that window.
big. Well, then they headed to the wine cellar to search the wine cellar. After passing through that window, in which that place, the place that the first officer was there, and that he couldn't open the door.
Yeah.
And he failed to search it properly in the initial home search.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's basically Officer French. He, at the beginning, when we explained that he was the first officer in scene and conducted like a quick search of the house, basically that's the door that he saw with the latch that he did not open. And when Mr. White had also visited the basement earlier, he couldn't find the light switch. Therefore, nobody had even been into the wine cellar. So at this point, it was around 1:04 p.m. Mr. Ramsey entered the wine cellar room first. He knows the house. He knows where the light switch is. So he turned on the light and this is where the story gets, very ugly and sad. But he was stumbled upon JonBenét's dead body. Like, I right now tengo los pelos parados. Like, all the hairs, I have body chills. Like, it's crazy. He literally went into the wine cellar, and he found JonBenét, and it stated that he only screamed like, "Oh my God, my baby!" Duh. I mean, I would have a heart attack. Like, I don't even know how I would react in a situation like that. But JonBenét, and these details are going to be a bit graphic, so just please bear with us. So, JonBenét was found with black duct tape covering her mouth. She had a cord around her neck that was attached to a wooden garrote, and her hands were bound over her head in front of her, and she was covered by a light colored blanket. Unfortunately, she had been strangled with a garrote, and a garrote, for I personally didn't know what that was, but that is a homemade weapon that basically you put I'm guessing like a cord, and you use that garrote to turn it around to either tighten the cord or to loosen it. So if you keep on turning the garrote to one side, it will just keep on fucking tightening. It's just crazy. Like, just to think that we're talking about the body of a 6-year-old girl that was discovered this way, it just breaks my heart. It does.
I don't think that is so easy to make.
No, and it stated that this is something that's like military grade, like, only
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh yeah, if I am trying to cover, a crime scene, or it's not that easy to make.
A garage, yeah. And it's so sad.
Okay.
Like, whoever thought of doing something like that, like, that's just crazy. So basically, Mr. Ramsey, when he discovered his daughter's body, he basically picked her up, which, now if the crime scene was contaminated, like right now, it's like indeed contaminated. He picked her up, took the tape off of her mouth, and then he ran upstairs with the body and placed her on the floor.
But then that's like a reaction.
It's a reaction, of course. Like, I feel like
I don't blame him at the same time, because you know what it is to find it, and then you just want to grab your baby.
Your baby.
And just,
yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, and I was talking with Jonathan about it. And it's basically like, he's like, after this case, now you would know, of course, God forbid, like, if something like this were to happen to your kid, you want to find out who did it. Therefore, you wouldn't want to contaminate the crime scene. But we say that now as trying to be like, let's say, police experts or detective experts. But if it was your kid that you see on the floor covered with a white blanket with tape around their mouth and the hands bound the way they were and all of that, I would pick up my kid, because you want, like, your first reaction is to pick it up, hug him, check if he's alive, because you're gonna want to that.
Yes.
It
would be the first thing you're gonna touch it. You're gonna grab it.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. I don't, or unless you faint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, and the thing is that you will never know how you will react to something like this. People would always say about every situation, oh, if it was me, I would have done this. But the thing is that you never know how you will react to a situation until you go through it. That's how I feel about it.
You will never know.
Yep.
You will never know.
And then, so after Mr. Ramsey took the body and pulled the tape off the mouth and took it upstairs and placed her on the floor, the weirdest thing is that then the detective Arnold picked up the body again and moved it to the living room, like near the Christmas tree where Patsy was. It stated that, as soon as Patsy saw it, which, shit, if she was sitting virtually motionless in a chair, I bet that bitch jumped up that chair, like, when she even saw, like, I don't even imagine, like, it's just crazy. But she basically knelt beside, JonBenét's body, and it stated that she kept on repeating over and over, my little angel, my little angel. And, that breaks my heart. Later on,
oh my God,
you will see more about the case, but we want to bring it to you guys as the first time we heard the case and how you would feel as a parent, or, just so that you have a better understanding of the gravity of this case. And just like that, this crime scene the just was contaminated because the body was moved, not once but twice, and this kidnapping case had turned into a murder.
It went from a ransom note to getting the money, having everything, not received the phone call. But not only that, now the body is they found the body inside the house.
Inside
so
the house.
she never left.
And now that's when shit gets crazy, because who would write a 2.5 ransom note with those many details, and they would still leave the body dead in the house, but the way that it was.
It wasn't just a regular death, or it was an accidental. It was they were trying to do that. Well, that's what it shows.
Yeah.
It was just crazy the way she was found. So that's what makes it so crazy.
Yep.
And not only that, she was found inside her house after they found a note requesting for money for her.
Yep.
It's just really weird.
That's very weird.
So it stated that after finding the body and all this happening, Mr. Ramsey had called his pilot already to schedule a flight with him to fly to Atlanta. And before the body was taken away from the house.
Yep. So JonBenét
he
was
already making plans.
Yep. And it's weird because that again, we're giving all these statements, but you never know how you will react if something like this were to happen anyway.
Yeah, but Mr. Ramsey claims that he did that because the police took over the house and they didn't have anywhere else to go. But like, dude, come on, like, get a fucking hotel.
Yeah, they're millionaires.
Okay,
they have money. Like, yeah,
there's no way that you cannot have another place to stay. Didn't you call all these people and they went to visit your house because your daughter is not there? So that means that definitely they can tell you, hey, come and stay over.
Yeah, and
they don't live far away.
And I'm sure that they would have had people, because at the beginning when everything happened, that, before they even found the body, they had taken Burke. I can't remember to whose family, one of the family friends, they had just, taken him away from the house, which is something that we didn't mention, but that's just a small detail. But, people would have definitely offered to help him stay. And besides, like, if something like this so horrific happened to especially your kid, like, even if your kid is dead, I feel like you would want to be close to where he is until this shit is solved. Like, because if you find whoever did this shit to your kid, you would want to just kill them with your bare hands. Like, I would.
Exactly.
I would.
I wouldn't want to be second far away from the place where it happened.
Exactly. And and it's not that. Like, they're wanting to go from Colorado to Atlanta. That's also like, what if something new happens in the case, you need to worry about flying back? Like, that's just bizarre for me.
Yeah. When the body was moved out of the house, apparently there were only two reporters outside to report all this that was going on. So that it was known already, but it wasn't like crazy.
Yep.
At that time, and after that, it was everywhere in the news.
Yep.
Obviously, it escalated quick. Yep. Because we have a 6-year-old little, not because only, well, her family was very known, but she was also a pageant queen.
Yep.
So it was known in all these different ways, and for what I know, Patsy liked the spotlight. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she did.
So people in the community were extremely alarmed because of this tragedy that just happened, and knowing all that this is an incident so crazy occurred in the neighborhood.
Yeah, people were alarmed, like, it's like if it happened in my neighborhood or any family member's neighborhood, like, people will definitely be alarmed, like, lock your doors, don't let your children go out, like, because people were definitely scared. And that is another big factor of this case. And we haven't mentioned anything about it because, to be honest, especially now in the 21st century, everybody does, whatever floats your boat. And if you want to put your little kids in to be pageant queens or do whatever, be little models, like, you do it. But there are so many pedophiles out there that she was a gorgeous girl. Like, we're not talking that she only did pageant and that's it, and the makeup made her even more cute. That she was cute. Like, she was
She was
really
beautiful.
pretty. Yeah.
She was beautiful. And it's not, we're not telling you to, like you said, not to put your child to do stuff like that, because there's kind of nothing wrong with it, but you got to be aware that it opens a lot of doors because to a lot of those pedophiles,
Yep.
because you're not going to know they're there, but they're definitely there.
Yep, definitely. So this is, why one of the reasons why this case is, so much in the media, just because, there's a little girl who, well, was brutally murdered in a horrible way, and she did pageant queens, and there are a lot, of sexual offenders around. So we will discuss that later on. But as of right now, we are going to move on to the autopsy report. We're going to discuss the details that were found when the autopsy was performed. And, if earlier it was a little disturbing talking about how she was found, now, of course, be prepared. It's a little disturbing, to know all the details in full. So the official cause of death was, and please bear with me, this is like the scientific name, was asphyxia by strangulation associated with craniocerebral trauma, which is basically she was strangled and she had head trauma. Her skull.
Words.
Yeah, those are big words, but like, it's just, I read it and I can, I know what the fuck it is. It's just crazy. Like, she was strangled and her skull was fractured, which those were the causes of death. The autopsy report state that the time of death was 1:23 p.m. on December 26th, even though this is the time when she was actually found, but not the actual time of death. It's just what's stated there, because there is no physical, there's no evidence. The crime scene was contaminated. You cannot know now all the specific details of what happened just because the crime scene was so contaminated. But physical evidence suggests that JonBenét died between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Her injuries were extensive. She had abrasions on the side of her face between her ear and jaw, and she had mini tiny broken blood vessels in her eyes. There are also several small dark circles that police at one time thought they were marks made by a taser gun. This theory that these marks were, look like if somebody had a taser, they were never proven, and no stun gun was never recovered from the crime scene. So that's just basically a theory. And also they found a very, very small, tiny drop of dried blood in JonBenét's underwear and her genitalia, which suggests that unfortunately she could have been sexually assaulted. And later, DNA test results show that in JonBenét's underwear, they found her own DNA, but they also found an unknown male DNA not matching any of the Ramseys or any of the potential suspects in the case.
You see, that's why it's hard to have a specific theory of what happened because of this crazy situation that's been going on.
Yeah.
Because now they found the DNA. You found like maybe she was sexually assaulted.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah,
like that theory that she must have been sexually assaulted, that shit is what made people go crazy and, like say, oh, but, she did pageant queens, like it must have been a pedophile. Like that's when the rumors started spreading around about this. And well, this now you guys have heard until here how complicated this case is. And this may be a longer of an episode, but we want to make sure that we provide you guys with all the details about this case, so that at the end you can think of your own what you think about this case with all the facts that we are covering.
We have different opinions. I've heard a lot of different points of views, but it's hard to believe any of them, to be honest. But back to the case. On December 28th of 1996, all the Ramseys went to the Boulder police station to answer some questions and give some samples of hair and blood and of the handwriting, because obviously to compare it with the DNA, and the handwriting to compare it to the ransom note. And this includes John Ramsey, John Andrew Ramsey, and Burke Ramsey. So the authorities say that Patsy was too distraught to submit the evidence collection at that time, but she eventually did. Obviously, she just lost her daughter. I believe that's
like
it's true to believe, because I will be destroyed, and she wouldn't mind to talk, and she couldn't be able to talk to anyone at that point.
Probably not. I mean, again, you wouldn't know how you would react in a case like this, and you, of course, would want to do anything that you can to, collaborate with police to, to be able to find who the fuck did this horrible shit to your kid. But, if to write, let's say she's actually on Xanax and shit, like to write, you know what I mean? Like, I understand
not at that point. I know why they wouldn't want to do it as quick.
Yeah, like she did.
Like, give me a second. I'll do it, but I will do it. Give me a moment.
Yep, she eventually did. But the thing is that because this is why the police was so up in their asses, is because this was a weird case. Like, they didn't have a timestamp on when they arrived to their house. It stated that JonBenét died anywhere from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. before the 911 call was placed. And they found a ransom note, which is long as fuck.
Nothing fits with anything.
No, it doesn't.
Nothing fits. Everything was done like backwards.
Yep.
Or not even backwards. It doesn't go along.
Yep.
But then after that, they were also questioned about the recollection of the events of that night, like you mentioned.
Yep.
But the Ramseys then felt like the police were beginning to act like if there were suspects of this murder. So they decided that they were not going to give any more testimonial evidence without a criminal attorney, if a criminal attorney wasn't there with them. Yep,
they basically would not want to speak to police unless they had an attorney by them. It stated that they wouldn't do that because they didn't know which type of questions the police would be asking them, so they wouldn't want to do that. But to be honest, like, that is like crime junkie rule 101: get a lawyer. You need to get a lawyer always, no matter how guilty that shit makes you look. But believe me, I've seen so many cases of, how is that called? Like the confessions when you're coerced to give a false confession, because they keep you hours and hours in an interrogation room until you just want to leave. So, the Ramseys also had money. I'm pretty sure they had good attorneys and good advisors. So, as a parent, I'm guessing they would look suspicious because they wouldn't want to provide information to the police.
It's a little tricky. Because why would you get an attorney if it's the death of your daughter?
Well, you need to.
At the same time,
you need to.
It's how they're how they see the police officers looking at them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because we don't know everything that went on in those interrogation rooms. Like, sometimes police even get aggressive, and when you're stressed out because of what just happened, the gravity of this, and you're being asked over and over, and let's say police don't want to believe you because they want you to say what they want to hear, basically, and if you don't want to talk to them anymore unless your attorney's present, that make you look guilty. But in a way, that's just how it goes, because laws are so stupid. In my opinion, there are so many stupid laws that they make you get an attorney. That's just the right thing to do. So moving on to the police investigation, when the police began to conduct their investigation, there was no sign of a break-in or first entry in the Ramsey home. Therefore, all three family members that were in the house that night of the incident of December 25th to, the 26th, they were immediately suspects. Like, this was some clue shit. Like, who did it? And The reason why, again, the Ramseys brought so much attention to themselves was that nothing fit. The ransom note, the discovery of the body in the house, and also, just so you guys know, the notepad, which this is something that we waited until now to let you guys know about. The notepad that was used to write the ransom note belonged to Patsy. And Patsy is the mom, just in case, Patsy Ramsey. They also found a draft note as well, as if the person who wrote the ransom note, like, maybe had practiced before or something like that. And yeah,
how can these criminals do something like that?
And
you see,
and it's not that. The thing is that if it was weird that the note was 2.5 pages long, which must have taken time because of all the details that it had. What I'm thinking, like, even to request the money, they must have had a calculator.
They already know exactly. Listen, if you go to kidnap a person, you already know what you're gonna do. So you know that you're going to go over there and you're going to ask for this type of money. So in my opinion, you're supposed to already have it ready.
Exactly. And no.
You're supposed to.
And it's like, if it was an intruder, somebody who came to the house to commit this crime, tell me that, even though, again, it's a huge mansion and nobody said that they wrote it in the kitchen where the pad was at, but isn't it weird that it was written in the same house and the body was found in the same house? That's weird.
And they used the same notepad from the house and the same pen, and they practiced the notes.
Yep.
They had time to practice the note.
Yep. And it's and also another thing that we wanted to mention, now that you guys know that the notepad that was used for the ransom note belonged to Patsy Ramsey. They also found fibers of hairs from the same red and black blazer that Patsy was wearing the night of the incident. It was the fibers of her shirt, of the same shirt. They were stuck to the tape that was covering JonBenét's mouth.
Oh my God.
Yep. Like, to be honest, like, DNA, it's something like very big these days. And sometimes in the back of my head, I'm like, how we trust so much in DNA evidence, but at the end of the day, it's because DNA has solved cases.
DNA definitely, I feel like, obviously in that time it wasn't that that advanced how it is now.
Yep. And it's weird. And also, just to top it off, the garrote, what was used to make the garrote that was used to strangle JonBenét, that piece of wood was used from a paintbrush that was broken that belonged to Patsy Ramsey's artwork supplies. So we're talking about the notepad. We're talking about fibers found in the duct tape covering JonBenét's mouth, and we're talking about the piece of wood that was used to make the garrote was also Patsy's.
My question is, okay, so did they verify where was located this paintbrush? Was it in a different room far away?
No.
Did they have time to go and pick it up?
No,
was
remember.
It something that was on the way?
No. Remember, the setup of the Ramsey's basement is very weird. They had, like, I'm sure that if you guys Google pictures of, like, the Ramseys, you will be able to see what I mean. But it's a weird setup. Like, you go down to the basement and there are different, like, mini rooms in there, like the laundry room, the train room. I think, again, there was a game room. So I guess that down there, like the miscellaneous rooms, you know what I mean? Like, Patsy had like an art kit, and that brush was taken from there, which is very close to where JonBenét's body was found.
Exactly. So it was close. So it was.
Yeah.
It was there was a way to take it on the way there.
But if an intruder came in, this
JonBenét.
is what I think. If an intruder came in to do this, why would they use everything from the same house?
Maybe because it was a kidnap. I think about a kidnap gone wrong. Maybe it can be one theory.
That exactly, yeah, or exactly, like, maybe they didn't intend to kill her or take her away, and something happened.
But it looks like everything was planned in the house.
Everything.
If that was the order, everything was planned inside the house already. If everything was used from there,
Yeah, it's just so bizarre, like for real. It's the weirdest shit.
But 3 days after that JonBenét's death, the
There you go
Ramsey
with the
family
word death.
death. I have an issue with saying death. I gotta find a way to write it in my way, so whenever I see it, it comes out correctly.
Just DETH, like the A kills you.
Death. After 3 days of the JonBenét's death, the Ramsey family held a memorial service for JonBenét, but in my opinion, it was too quick because I feel like the police needed to have the body longer
Well,
to make more.
they had already performed the autopsy and they had already identified, the cause of death. And, she was not like incinerated right? I think that's the proper word when, when they give you the ashes.
Cremation?
Yeah. So basically,
Cremated.
it cremated. Okay, thank you, Ninoshka.
Yes.
I think incinerated is when like you fucking burn somebody on, I don't even know that was not right, but yeah.
I know what you meant.
Thank you.
But I know that it was.
Only you and I understand
Cremar.
each other no matter what,
Cremar.
but we are talking to our listeners, so thank you for correcting me. So cremated, but I don't know. I mean, if they were able to do it, is because the police probably allowed them to do it. So yeah,
It was very. I can't imagine. I know it has to be the most crazy. That has to be the most craziest thing that a parent can do, which is do a memorial service for your child.
Yep.
When it was supposed to be, just life is supposed to be backwards.
yep.
But about 200 family members went to the gathered event.
People.
Was,
Yeah.
they were all of them were known. She was buried in Atlanta beside her half sister Beth, John's daughter, with his first wife, who died in a car accident.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yes. I didn't know how many kids, how many children did he have?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. If I'm not mistaken, the only kids that Patsy had was JonBenét and Burke, and I'm thinking that John, because he was much older than Patsy.
Yeah, I think it was like 10 years, 13 years
Yeah,
older.
something like that. So I think he had that daughter Beth that had died. He had the other John Andrews, that is the other kid that he actually lived in Colorado and used to go to the university in Colorado. At the time of the incident, he had the Ramsey home listed, as his address, but like he wasn't there, the night that it happened or anything. That's why he's been discarded because I've never heard any rumors about him being a suspect. But he was, they took all of his DNA and everything, so he's not part of it. But so I'm guessing that he had 3 and then one of them died. So yeah, John was there just popping babies. Sorry.
Oh God. Okay. It was just I had that question, because I know JonBenét was only 6 and Burke was 9 at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's why he was the eldest.
Yep.
Right. But 5 days after the incident, the Ramseys shocked everyone because they had been refusing to speak to the police, but they aired in CNN.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to the police, but they go and they speak over there to the public in the news.
That was like a shock.
That's very weird.
Yep.
There's nothing else to say. It's weird.
Yep.
Well, why would you do that?
Well,
you don't want the police to think bad and wrong from you that you did committed the crime, but then you go out there just to let people know that you didn't commit it.
Well, the thing is that, as a parent at this point, knowing what they went through, they were investigated, and then the police were starting to look at them as suspects because all the shit that happened that we've already talked about. And, they wouldn't want to speak to police without an attorney. And the police did ask, on multiple occasions to speak to them. And suddenly they are on CNN. Like, that's like a big news broadcast system. Like,
yes, it's not like they spoke to them and then they went out. No, it was the first time them speaking about the incident.
They were not in your local news channel. They were in fucking CNN. Like,
that's worldwide.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, after the CNN interview, there were numerous of tips from the Boulder community since they were reportedly 38, not 5, 38 registered sex offenders living within 2 miles of the Ramsey residence at that time.
What the fuck? 38 registered sex offenders.
38.
No, wait. It's not that it's 38, but living within 2 miles?
2 miles is nothing.
Like what the fuck are people of, like what? Like why does your sex have to be so offensive? You know what I mean?
Why are they living so close to
to each other?
A pageant, child pageant.
It's not that because that was
weird.
like a very nice Boulder, Colorado area, but
Exactly.
like how that's a lot of registered sex offenders. You know that I'm scared of looking how many registered sex offenders live around my area
A
because
couple of months ago, I looked in for that in my area.
oh my god,
It was pretty weird because there were like 4 between like 4 miles.
yeah, exactly. It's like 1 per mile. If it's crazy, like
1 per mile.
there are a lot of registered sex offenders out there. So you guys should also look into that to see how many registered sex offenders live around you, especially if you have children, and see which type of why are they registered to be sex offenders. Because of course there are different type of sex crimes, but this is something very alarming. It is.
But that's why people thought that and started to believe that the crime was committed because of by a sexual predator, because JonBenét was involved in all these pageants.
Yep, makes sense.
That's why people were just thinking about this. And at this time, the police had dozens and dozens of suspects. Yeah. Like only by sex offenders, you have more than 2 dozens right there, 3.
Yeah, they have
more than 3 dozens right there of suspects.
Yep, it's true. So basically, at this time, we are going to discuss like the outsider theory because at this time, like Nino just mentioned, after the CNN interview, there were dozens and dozens of tips coming into the police station. So just on a note, the Ramseys, they always stated that this crime was committed indeed by an intruder. They always said that they were innocent, that they would never do this thing to JonBenét, how they would call it, because it's weird, but if you guys see the interviews, it seems like they never call her my daughter. They call her JonBenét. Which is a beautiful name, but I'm guessing that's just how they were because they always call her that way. But
I saw the interviews. I believe, I'm not sure if it was the first one, that one for CNN, but she speaks about, I did not hurt that child.
Yeah.
She doesn't say my child,
Yeah.
like you said. She doesn't say the name. She says that child.
Yeah, and it's weird because like we mentioned earlier, Patsy, she was also a former pageant queen, and she always like being the center of attention. Like her and John were still involved in extracurricular activities that involved like the spotlight. Like they would also host like big Christmas parties at their house, or parties just entertaining people, like in the ballroom and stuff. So it stated that how JonBenét now, hello, she was like, that was like her time, even though she was 6, but she was killing whatever she did with the pageant world. And some people say that Patsy was probably jealous of her daughter JonBenét, and maybe this is one of the reasons why she probably committed the murder. That's another theory out there. But basically, Patsy also said that their house was so big that there could have been someone hiding in their house for weeks and they wouldn't even know. So this is one of the things that I think of, because that night there seemed to be snow on the floor, and the police did not found any traces or any footprints or anything. So who knows if there was somebody there that had the time to get that notepad and write it and was still in the house. I mean, you never know. It's
if
weird.
it was snowing what if it was snowing that night? Wouldn't the footprints would have disappeared?
I'm not really sure about that. It's just strange. The police checked on that. I'm pretty sure they did a very, very thorough investigation about it, and they did not find any signs of anything, like nothing. Not even in JonBenét's room they found like any sign of like a struggle, or if somebody had vigorously taken her out of her bed or anything. So basically, there was this criminal investigator. His name is Lou Smith, and he had a theory that this crime was done by an outsider, ruling the Ramsey's suspects, ruling them out. And his reasoning was the marks that were found on JonBenét's body. He said that there were marks on her body that were not adequately explained, I'm guessing, by whoever performed the autopsy. He said that these marks looked like if they had come from a stun gun, like if she was, if that would have happened. So he focused on this theory because he says that based on that broken window and that black case, there's a video also of him showing the police how he's able to come in and out from that broken window, that it would have been very easy to do. So to be honest, I don't know, that's just basically where the outsider theory came through.
It's just okay, I understand that part because of the stun gun marks and because of the broken window, but that's just the easiest way to think. They're not thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the easiest way because there's a broken window and because but there's no footsteps. There's no way of the criminal getting out of the house or inside the house.
Yep.
So are you telling me that then was an insider, someone close to the family that had access to the house instead of jumping in the house?
Yeah, like at this time, after everything that has had happened, he is the one that came through with that theory. Like, I don't think nobody had any outsider theory after they found the body in the house and the ransom note and all of that.
That's why it makes it difficult to also believe.
Yep.
But after all this happened, the months passed and the police hadn't had arrested anybody yet. Nobody, because they would have suspects, but they had nothing to hang on. There was no strong evidence for them to do all this.
Nope.
The Ramseys were still suspects. They couldn't rule them out because they were the only people in the house and that were there that night. There was nobody else. They were looked at very weird because they wouldn't cooperate with the police. Then they made all this interview with CNN.
Yep.
And everything to contact them had to go through their attorneys first.
Yep.
That was the only way to be contacted.
Yep.
Well, that goes with not cooperating with the police at all.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know what to think because it's just, since they know that the police has no evidence, they don't want to be pointed at, and that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
so true. That's why.
Yep.
It doesn't let me choose a side in a way.
Yep, that's
even
that's
though
true.
I don't know.
Yep. So basically, wait, sorry, I interrupted you again. What were you gonna say?
No, it's just
the thoughts, because this is fucking crazy.
I have a lot of thoughts. Yes, I have a lot of thoughts, but I want to save it to the end. I don't want to keep it's killing the mood. Let's just finish it, and at the end I'll give my whole opinion.
Yeah, and we know that this has been, this has been a pretty long episode, but again, we wanted to provide you guys with all the details, and now we're gonna basically provide you with a little bit of information of what happened when there was an attempt to make a trial. So in late 1998, the DA presented the case to a grand jury. The jury consisted in 8 women and 4 men. They even took the jurors to the Ramsey home to see the home for themselves, so that they could see, the broken window, the room, the house setup, and everything. So, so that they would see for themselves. One of the jurors, I watched an interview with Dateline 2020. He is one of these guys, he went incognito, like one of these interviews that they fucking cover your face and they put your voice all distortion and shit so that people don't know who you are. So basically, he went and did an interview with Dateline 2020, and he said that with all the information that the jurors were provided with and the evidence visiting the house, that there was no way that they could have identified or even guessed who might have done this, or how it might have even happened. Like Nino said, like this case is so weird, and it has so many, so many details to it that the police didn't have anything. The crime scene was contaminated. That's the problem here. you know and he stated that setup of the house, like we've explained, to the wine cellar, everything was super strange. And he also mentioned how he had an eerie feeling when he visited the house. He basically said that bringing
eerie?
Yeah, eerie. That's just like, like you have a bad feeling, like, the vibes, like not good vibes.
Okay, yes.
And he said that basically bringing this case to court was literally a waste of taxpayer money, because he said that, the like if you would have been a detective or a prosecutor, you would have known that there was no case because the crime scene was contaminated and nobody knows what happened. We understand that police will always try to do their job and solve cases, especially when it comes to little kids. But unfortunately, the police made a mistake from the very beginning, mishandling the case and the crime scene. And this is what you get. That's just how it is.
That was starting the case starting. They already messed it up.
Yep.
They wasted no time.
Yep. So basically, the grand jury issued an indictment against Patsy and Mr. Ramsey. They did not accuse them of murder. However, they accused them of child abuse, stating that they placed JonBenét in a situation which resulted in death. Which, to be honest, is very weird. And I understand, that there is circumstantial evidence to think that they maybe have something to do with it because of the instruments that were used for everything at the house, and what was found on JonBenét's tape. But, it's just weird. They were just basically indicted for child abuse. 9 of the jurors decided that there was no probable cause to prove that the Ramseys committed this crime. And then the district attorney then decided that he wouldn't prosecute anyone because there was non-sufficient evidence.
There's no evidence.
Yeah, there's no evidence. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to talk like we are talking now, because the same thing that we're talking, a little bit about is all the information that came from them. They didn't have any evidence like that.
The only thing they had was the body, but the body had nothing else,
And
only the drops of blood, and that didn't match
nobody.
Nobody that they tried to
investigate,
compare the DNA with.
Nobody, like no suspects, none of the Ramseys. It didn't find anybody. So basically, he just the district attorney made the decision not to prosecute them. And after that, the governor at the time, Bill Owens, he was super mad about this. Like, I saw a press conference when he said that he wished he could talk to both Patsy and Mr. Ramsey about this case and have them to stop hiding behind their attorneys, and that they should return to Colorado to work with police and help them solve what had happened to their daughter. So I can't remember exactly where the Ramseys were. I'm guessing that they were in Atlanta at that time, because basically that's their hometown. And of course, if something happens to your daughter in a state, if you are able to, you would move the fuck out of there. Like, you
But the
wouldn't want to stay
governor,
there.
exactly, the governor is offering your help.
Well,
The governor
yeah,
of the
but
city.
he was
You're
mad.
gonna go over there, even though you don't want to talk to the police, but it's an extra way. But you're millionaires also. Were they looking for other ways to investigate?
Well, the governor was just mad. He was just mad because they were not cooperating with police. Like, everything had to be done through their attorney. So he was basically saying, you motherfuckers, stop being pussies and talk to us without your attorney. That's just basically what I'm saying the words for you, Mr. Bill Owens, because that's just basically what he was saying. And as a police officer, I will feel weird if, but again, I'm not going to keep talking about it because it's necessary that you get an attorney. Anyway, Mr. Ramsey actually responded to the governor's statement. He basically said that if the governor and the police of Boulder, Colorado had spent already 3 years investigating their family, that he would like to know what were they gonna do now to find who committed their daughter's crime. So basically, Mr. Ramsey responded to the governor saying, you spent 3 years already investigating potential suspects, investigating our family, thinking that we did something, and you still have not come with nothing. What are you gonna do now?
but it was just by the fact that the parents didn't want to talk to the police is just suspicious.
It is.
Because
It is.
how much time can it pass in order for you to cooperate? Okay, it got to the point where they're not pointed at suspects anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, but they still didn't talk to the police. They still didn't cooperate.
Yep.
Still, everything they still didn't match. So, again, like I've repeated constantly, that's why it's so hard to believe any theory at all. But let's talk a little bit about the suspects in this case. On the other people that we haven't mentioned yet that were considered suspects. So, Mr. Bill McReynolds was the town Santa Claus. He had dressed up as Santa Claus the week before JonBenét's murder to entertain the neighborhood children of the Patsy's famous Christmas gatherings.
Yep.
You know, this is a little weird because I've always thought that these Santa Clauses are pretty creepy.
Well, the kids sit in your lap, and not all of them, but what you're gonna see now, that's why we think it's a little weird.
It was rumored that he had paid a little too much attention to JonBenét that day. That's why it's weird.
Yeah.
He apparently had chosen JonBenét to be his special friend.
Okay.
I don't know. This just creeps me out.
Be like, whatever. Get yourself a fucking an elf. Get yourself an elf.
But I mean, they're kids, so they're looking at it with different eyes.
Yeah, that's how you talk to a
is
kid. You're right.
Yes, it's reported that JonBenét gifted him with a vial of glitter that day. So she liked him.
Yep.
And obviously she's a 6-year-old little girl. Yeah. And the weird thing is that he asked his wife to mix the gold glitter that JonBenét gave him with ashes when he died.
With his ashes, he asked his wife to mix the gold glitter that JonBenét had given him with his ashes when he died. He wanted to mix the glitter with his own ashes.
Why?
I don't know.
That's very creepy. But his DNA didn't match either.
Yep.
Well, they're just creeps out there.
So he's just ruled out because the DNA did not match.
Well, there was this another guy. His name was Gary Oliva, known as the Town Drifter. He was a 32-year-old man. He was a sex offender in Boulder, Colorado. So that was one of the 38 of them. Allegedly, the police found a magazine about JonBenét Ramsey in his backpack after he was apprehended in a drug search in 2000.
Apprehended.
Apprehended. What a word. Apprehended. Oh my God. The DNA didn't match either. Then he was released.
Yep, he was released. And then we have another suspect. His name was Michael Helgoth. He was basically an electrician. He was 26 years old and he worked in a nearby auto salvage yard. Allegedly, he was involved in a property dispute involving the Ramseys. I guess, I'm not sure if it was months before, but he had been involved in a dispute with the Ramseys. So this is what brings the theory that what if maybe this was his motivation to seek revenge of the family and do what he did to JonBenét. But here's the tricky thing. He committed suicide before anyone could get to him. His death occurred 2 days after a 1997 press conference that was announcing that the police were focusing on a new potential suspect. So he literally committed suicide 2 days after that press conference, which was like basically new information about the JonBenét's case, but his DNA didn't match either. And then we have, I hate this guy, John Mark Carr, that fucking weirdo. I say his name and his big old head pops in my brain and I just want to kick it out.
Crazy. That guy, he's just
he is like the
disgusting.
most notorious suspects in this case. He was an American that was living in Thailand at that time. He was a school teacher, which is even fucking weirder, a school teacher. I can't remember which grade he taught, but or teach. I can't remember, whatever, but it's weird. But this stupid asshole confessed to have committed the murder, and he actually confessed in very graphic sexual detail. Like, we're talking about a 6 year old little girl. He confessed in graphic sexual detail. And when he was asked what happened, he said that her death was basically an accident. And all of this was bullshit. You know, the DNA found in DNA's underwear was not his either. And his confession to this day is considered as false. Like, if he was charged with something, which I didn't even worry about looking more into this guy because, of course, he was ruled out. But
Yeah, but he said that he committed the crime with another male.
it's
He said that it was him and another person.
I don't know. He was full of shit, and the police have accounts in which they know that he was not in Colorado at the time when the murder happened. Like,
He's just
Yep.
faking it all. He was like obsessed with the crime. That was all.
Yep.
I don't know. There's also we're gonna probably post some pictures of this guy because he was like the one that spoke about it.
I hate him.
Well, he was one of the most known about all the suspects. But to just end the case, basically we have covered everything kind of top to bottom. But just to close, Patsy died in 2006 of ovarian cancer, unfortunately. In 2008, the ex-DA, Mercy Lacy, exonerated the Ramseys and sent Mr. Ramsey a letter apologizing for all that they went through for being accused of committing this crime.
They were exonerated. Like, basically, John was happy, that they were exonerated. Patsy didn't even get to see, that they were exonerated. But yeah, like, there was a lot of people that were not happy about this, that they were exonerated and ruled out as suspects officially in 2008. But, if there was no evidence, right?
But I think Patsy had, like, her attorneys, it was so strong that everybody that would mention or point them as
That was my dog barking.
as they were the one who committed the crime.
Yep.
That they were like get sued.
Yep. It's
So obviously nobody could point at them, and it got to the point where when she died, I believe that's what the reason why this woman did that.
I think, like, do you imagine, like, if they didn't do it, like, how horrible that must have been, losing your child and being accused for all that time that you did it. Like, you're grieving and then you're stressed out because everybody thinks you did it. Isn't that?
But you didn't talk.
It's true. They put it up on themselves, and it's super weird. And other theories are that Burke did it, the little brother. But me and Nino are not talking about that theory because we already decided that we have kids. You know what? We have kids that are around Burke's age, like 8 to 9 years old, and a kid, when they took Burke, when the incident first happened, before they found the body to that other friend's house, if he was part of this that happened, he would have cracked. He would have said something. It's little kids. They're too honest sometimes for their own good,
And his interview, you can see in his face he's just laughing. Well, maybe he's just a weirdo.
I'm sorry, but with that amount of trauma and somebody talking to you all these years that you just want to put that behind you. I see that interview, but somebody who went to a trauma like this, that after a trauma like this, that now your family was infamous for apparently your parents killing your little sister. I don't know,
but he just has a weird face to me. I don't.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Gives me
He
the
does.
creeps.
He looks weird.
does.
He has this almost smiling face the whole interview and all of that. But to be honest, I personally don't think that he did this. I really don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and also because that's the point. If he committed this crime, but then the parents, let's say the parents are trying to cover it, right?
Yeah.
But it's so crazy, everything that they did to the body to supposedly try to cover it is just goes to
To a whole nother level.
Exactly, to a whole nother level that's why that theory also, it's not, I just cannot process it either.
Yes, it's true.
Because it just it stops me at that time. Who has the experience to do that tie that knot that perfectly and do
You
all this
never
stuff
know.
like
There
it's
are
shown on the
weirdos
pictures.
out there, but I really don't think that Burke did it. And we haven't mentioned this, but basically there was a bowl of pineapple found, this is something that we missed. Thank God I remember right now. There was a bowl of pineapple
Yes.
that was found
bowl.
in the kitchen of the Ramsey home that was just left there. Like if somebody began to eat it, that bowl of pineapple, it had only Bert's and Patsy's basically fingerprints on it. But the weird thing is, and this is why this is such a big deal, it's because when they perform the autopsy, they discovered that JonBenét had eaten pineapple before her murder and it was not digested. So it was still there. And what a coincidence that there's a pineapple bowl that's in the kitchen left there and it only has Patsy's and Berg's fingerprints on it. So
Yeah, it was like the pineapple with, I think it was yogurt. And
it
then
was with
the
milk.
cup
It
of-
was
in a
pineapple
cup
and milk.
with milk, and with a cup of tea on the side. The cup of tea, I think, had Burke's marks, and the pineapple bowl had Patsy's DNA, if I'm not wrong, or something like that.
I didn't hear anything about anything tea.
I read
I
it.
just
I read
saw
that.
the
Yes.
bowl and the spoon. They both had Patsy and Berg's fingerprints and DNA on it. Which, you know, there's a theory that maybe JonBenét like picked up a pineapple from the bowl. That's why her DNA is not on the plate or the spoon, and that maybe Berg, you know, hit her, you know, in the head, and that's when it all happened. But again, I feel like Berg would have said something at the time when he was 9. He would have accidentally said something by accident if he would have done something, in my opinion, considering how my kids are. So
Wow.
so anyway, so
But John, after all this, John said that he was very happy and that he still hopes, obviously, that the case will be solved eventually.
yep. And then basically that was a cold case until basically last week there was a new breakthrough in the case. And again, the only reason why this is related to the JonBenét case is because on July 2nd, Randall DeWitt Simmons, he was a 66-year-old photographer.
Photographer?
He was a photographer, and he happened to have photographed JonBenét just months before her death. And you know why he was arrested? He was arrested because of child pornography charges.
There we go again. You see, another
Yep.
person that does stuff related to kids doing this type of stuff, and he's a freaking pedophile.
Yep.
You see what I mean?
It's very weird, and to be honest, like it's so weird because again, that's why this may be linked to the JonBenét's case. And basically the Oak Ridge Police Department, they had been investigating this dude for over a year. It's reported that he was in an A.W. restaurant. It seems like actually he had been visiting at A.W. restaurant, and they had the employees or whoever has access, you know, like the supervisor or the manager, they had been noticing that somebody had been visiting the fast food and downloaded X-rated content.
What the heck?
And you know what? It's weird because I had an experience like this happen. I was in McDonald's years ago when I
Yes,
first moved
remember
to.
you telling me.
Yep.
Yes.
When I first moved to Florida, we were in a McDonald's. Hello, McDonald's, children alert. Hello, duh. And when I'm sitting at a table with my kids, and when I look to the side, this dude is literally watching porn next to me. Like a dude just watching that. And I remember that I saw, because of course I mind my own business, but I saw that like with the corner of my eye, you know, when you're looking around. But then I was like, well, what the fuck? And I got so mad. I told my partner at the time, like, like this dude is doing this. And, you know, like we confronted him. We confronted the dude. Other dudes in the store started taking their cell phones out, recording. He was kicked out of the store. But listen, it's creepy. Like there are a lot of
Creeps, man.
sexual child predators out there.
Pay Wi-Fi. You can't pay Wi-Fi. You can afford it.
Yep.
You have to go to this open public place.
And the thing is that when that dude was kicked out of that McDonald's that I went to, that is in a BC area by Jongyong, and he wasn't there with a car or nothing. He went straight into the woods, but he had a cell phone and shit. So I'm like,
What?
Yep, he went straight into the woods, and we thought that was so weird. Like we were watching him until he left. Like he was kicked out of the McDonald's, and I really, really hope that they remember his face. I never went to that McDonald's again. I never did.
That's
Yep.
ridiculous.
So basically, after the investigators traced his activity, they basically tracked it back to a computer to an IP address, and boom, they got him.
And the weird thing that is that previously of this guy being arrested back in 1998 for the incident exposure in of the incident. I'm sorry.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
The
whoa.
I'm sorry. I got lost right there. The guy was arrested back in 1998 for indecent exposure. In Lincoln County, Colorado, for allegedly walking down a road naked. Okay, this was after JonBenét's death.
Living wild and free.
So
naked and afraid.
That was really weird. The police reports say that he was yelling, "I didn't kill JonBenét." At this time,
Weird.
all the situation is under investigation, and the police haven't released any new details. But I'm sure that they're waiting to make sure that they have a solid evidence to convict him, and may even be linked to JonBenét's murder. Given the fact that he had a interaction with JonBenét shortly before her death, and he was also being criticized for the pictures being too over sexualized because of all the makeup and all this, maybe the poses, I'm not sure, but I know definitely the makeup was one like red flag when they saw that he was photographing her like that. So no wonder why he's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, he's a fucking sicko. Yeah, he definitely is. And to be honest, we will definitely try to keep you guys posted in this case. Like, even if we don't do another, podcast about this case, we will definitely make sure that we post it in our social media. If anything else happens, to be honest, who knows if this dude did it? Like, I really don't know if he might have done it. Like, it can be anything, like. It's very interesting to know, that nearly after 23 years after JonBenét's death, there was an arrest of this kind made, and that this case may finally be resolved.
I don't know. There's still so much little evidence, There's a lot of stuff that puts him there. There's nothing to point nobody in. I don't think they have enough to convict him completely about this crime.
No, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know, because now with this touch DNA and all this DNA technology compared to 1996, I'm telling you that great things are happening. Like, this is the era of catching these motherfucking criminals. But, I really hope that this case is solved. A beautiful soul was lost just at the peak of her little tiny beautiful life. She had such a bright future ahead of her, and unfortunately this happened to her.
So, but now, what do you think? Who you think did it?
I really don't know. I really don't think the Ramseys did it, even though there's evidence pointing to them. I personally feel like an intruder did this, but I really don't know who. Like, I feel like we decided to cover this case, but I personally, in my head, I'm like the jurors. I don't feel like there's sufficient evidence. The crime scene was contaminated for me to even consider somebody that could have done this horrible thing.
The police was negligent since the beginning.
Yeah, they fucked everything up. They fucked the whole investigation.
Anybody else but the police. Yes, the Ramseys called. Yes, there was people there, but that's where the police has to enter and tell them, hey, stop. Do not continue. This is a crime scene. You cannot enter. You guys can do everything, but you have to do it outside of the property, Yeah. Something as simple as that. And probably the outcome and of all this would have been different.
Yep.
They would have found the person.
Yep, definitely. And I'm looking right now at the time that we've been recording, and I'm like, like we said that we wanted to make episodes like no longer than 40 to 45 minutes. We knew this case would be long. The same thing is going to happen to us when we cover the Memphis 3 and the Casey Anthony, I'm sure. We're going to have
they have to be 2 episodes.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a part 2. But, we really appreciate you guys taking the time, to listen to our episode. We would really like to know your thoughts on this case, how we did. And what are your thoughts about this horrible tragedy itself? Like, let us know via email, social media. Like, we would definitely love to interact with you.
Definitely. We hope that you enjoyed this case. It's our very first one. Don't judge us. It's super late.
Don't judge
We've been
me.
recording. But we really enjoy this. I know that, well, I did. I know that she did also.
Yeah, I did.
This first Drop Dead Sister episode.
Yep, it was
Crazy,
it was
but
great.
amazing.
It was great, and we are going to do another research for a brand new case. We already have in mind which case we're gonna do, but we're just not gonna tell you about it because we want to just give you a little tease maybe in our social media. But just stay tuned, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.